I was saying last week that I wanted to look at the issue of insuring your profits. We're all in life to make a profit, whether it's earning our money from our employer or if you're in a small business, making a profit out of that. But how do you insure those profits? Because there are all sorts of things that can suddenly come up and smack you from left field that you are not maybe either aware of or you haven't made provision for. So we're joined by Lita Mgudlwa, who is the manager of Signature Made, a division of Aon South Africa. Lita, good evening. Nice to have you with us, my man.
Good evening, Jeremy.
Firstly, Signature Made, what is the business about? What do you target specifically?
Okay, Signature Made is a product development division of Aon. And at this stage, we're targeting specifically the small to medium enterprises. Right. Typically a franchise business or an entrepreneur, I think is probably
So I'm a panel beater and I've got a fairly big panel beating business. You would be targeting me?
You'd fall in that category that I would try and build a product around. Okay.
Now when you say build a product, what exactly are you Oaks doing?
Well, each client is different. Mm-hmm. Okay, so typically we'll have a product that would cover, if we take your scenario, for example, it would cover a building.
Right.
Maybe you own the building that you're operating from. You'll have machinery, you'll have stock in there.
I'll have other people's cars.
You'll have other people's cars in there. That you might even have some mobile equipment that you take out to site. Maybe there's a vehicle that's broken down somewhere. Money, liabilities. So those generally are the upfront covers that a businessman would buy. They're real, they're day-to-day operational risks. So we would build something around that, understanding what you perceive your risk to be. So we build something around that and sell it through to you.
Okay.
However, what a lot of businessmen tend to forget is all the other peripheral, what is perceived to be a peripheral cover, things like kidnap and ransom, which is on the rise nowadays. Because maybe your competitor doesn't like you, you're far too good in what you're doing.
Because I'm in the panel beating business and it's a dangerous business to be in.
They're my friends. So, yeah. So, you know, it is something that, yes, it's not an everyday occurrence. People say it'll never happen to me. Mm-hmm. But statistics show that kidnap and ransom is on the rise. And you know, one does need to take cognizance of that. You've mentioned that you're a big operator in the industry, so perhaps you've built enough contingencies to protect yourself. But if you haven't, it's something that you need to consider. There are other areas that we can consider. Changing legislation, for example, Companies Act. People tend to forget or play down the impact of the new Companies Act or the new Consumer Protection Act.
Okay.
And I believe in our industry, certainly in the insurance industry, we've run enough programs and we've come up with products that could protect you or certainly reduce the impact of a claim whenever it might come in. Because as you said earlier on, it might take you left field, you don't even see it coming. And also, rights and strikes, big thing nowadays. Yeah. It is, as people say, strike season. People come in and they're not happy because your workers are working. They come in, they destroy things around here, and yes, you're protected by your standard insurance covers that I mentioned earlier on. Motor vehicles are protected. Yeah. Buildings, all of that is protected and it'll be paid. But what about the financial impact on your business? And a lot of people tend to forget that business interruptions cover, which has a big impact. And on top of that, it's the SASRIA cover, which is the right and strike cover that we have in the country. So if you don't build something around that, then you run a risk of having a negative impact on those profits.
Do you find that most small, medium enterprises are more concerned with the, for want of a better word, Lita, let's call it the traditional insurance, the stuff you were talking about in the beginning, buildings and stock in trade and that sort of thing. They understand that. They don't have an understanding of this new, let's call it new age.
80% of them understand that basic insurance. They've grown up from young, or even at varsity or technicons that you go to. Even the banks tell you, these are the basic insurances that you must have because I'm financing you your car, I'm financing you your buildings. And they're the day-to-day operational covers that people buy.
Yeah, so you buy a car and the bank says to you, yes, you may buy the car, we will give you the money. You, however, have to have it insured.
Insured, yes.
And you have to fit some form of tracking device to it.
Correct.
Otherwise, we won't give you the money.
Correct.
So you're almost spoon-fed that.
You are spoon-fed that because you also understand the consequence, because it hits you hard when it happens.
Yeah.
So if you don't have cover for your vehicle, to keep paying that finance, when you don't actually have that extra cash in your pocket, to keep paying that finance for 5 years or however long your term of contract is painful.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer having to pay for a car and you've got to walk to work. Because
true.
the car's been stolen.
Okay. So that's the traditional stuff that a lot of businesses buy. 80% of them buy that cover.
But then how do I assess my risks? That's the difficulty I'm having here. Because, yes, granted, I have been spoon-fed on the other traditional insurance products.
Yes.
How do I then say, what else do I have to cover myself against?
I think every business matures. So if you are on day one of your business, yes, those are critical and you need to have the right cover at the right levels for the traditional stuff. Mm-hmm. As you're maturing in your business, and you're the only one that understands your business, so as you're maturing in your business, your broker will start asking you questions about certain areas of your business that he might perceive as a risk manager. He might perceive are critical to you in the growth of your business. Understanding where you are in your life cycle of your business. So if, for example, you are in an area, or you travel a lot, or you are in a sphere of industry where kidnap and ransom is rampant, something you do need to consider very quickly. But if you are just running a corner cafe, a hijacking or a hold-up is probably as far as you're going to go when it comes to kidnap and ransom. So he won't cover that. But he will look at dishonesty of employees, because you might well understand your business from start to end. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have your eye on the ball all the time, and because dishonest employees know how you operate, they'll take you on somewhere along the line, and that could slowly bring you down.
I suppose that comes into a category you mentioned, excuse me, at the beginning of the show when you spoke about franchisees, for example, where you've got somebody who owns a franchise and is not necessarily on the premises all the time. Correct. And as a manager there.
Correct.
Because that's, especially, I would imagine in that sort of industry, there's a lot of cash doing the rounds. And if people know how you operate, it's very easy to make that cash go from that particular position into this particular position here.
Yeah. And depending where you are in that cycle, this particular position is more important. But if you are a client of, in fact, any broker, they want to protect. Therefore, minimize that risk. So they would say to you, or you would prompt them and say, if I'm getting in 100,000, I'm supposed to be getting, I'm buying 100,000, supposed to be getting 120, but I'm constantly coming up at 118. Something is going wrong somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you don't ask your questions or prompt your broker to ask those questions, because it might come up in conversation, then your broker might miss, or you might miss the opportunity to correct that.
You used a phrase just 2-3 minutes ago, which suddenly struck me. You said you were talking about a broker, and you used the phrase a risk manager. Is that where insurance brokerage is going these days? Are you guys, because as far as I understood it, in the older days, it just used to be you would go to a broker. He was the person between you and somebody who was offering a product, and he would sell that product and earn a commission. Are you now saying that insurance brokers, in effect, need to start going in and do risk analyses of their clients to see what product the client needs?
Primarily because the clients are a lot more educated nowadays. They understand their
You're saying
basic...
insurance broker is a doof.
They understand their... No, they understand the basic needs, simply because of the issue of spoon feeding that we spoke about earlier on.
Yeah.
So you need to then be a step ahead. And one of the areas is, or one of the ways of reducing that, is to understand the risk that the client is taking on the subconscious level, so therefore exploit that, and therefore point the client in the right direction. So to be just a broker in the old traditional sense that says, here's a product, pay 20 Rand for it, those days are gone. Those days are disappearing fast.